I think we all know about what I'd call the hard reset buttons in your life. Times when it's just really, really easy to rework your life and your habits. Those are things like living in a new situation for the first time, having a baby, moving, starting a new job, just really anything that disrupts your day to day rhythm and makes it easy for you to either lose habits that you'd gained or gain habits that you want to gain. And because it is like two sides of the same coin, right? And then we have like the ones that I consider a little bit more manufactured, like New Year's Day. So, I mean, I have no problem with setting New Year's resolutions. I feel like I set them every year. But I sort of realized in my life that the most effective times to think about my life and rework my habits and just sort of think about the kind of person that I want to be and the kind of life that I want to live, it's not New Year's Day. And those hard reset moments don't really come enough for me to always use those. So what I have to do is use these soft reset moments. And I feel like the soft reset moments are really nice because they come more often and they're not quite as jarring or stressful as maybe some of the bigger life events. They're that perfect mix of like, yep, my routine and my life is changing a little bit, so that I'm able to take advantage of that to shift into a new gear of like who I want to be, the habits I want to form, the things I want to do with my days. So some examples of like soft reset opportunities might be coming back home from a vacation, because it is not always easy to slip back into our old habits. I don't know if you've ever like been, trying to keep up with an exercise routine or something and it's working great. And then you go on vacation and you come back and you can't keep up with it. And that's because you experienced a soft reset. You went away for like a week, you came back and suddenly life is just a little bit different. And so you aren't necessarily in your old routines quite as securely as you were. But that's not the only one. You could also be like the start of a new school year, anything that like really causes you to shift your daily routine just a little bit and make you rearrange your life. Life has kind of given me two soft resets here, kind of within a month of each other. The first is that my amazing mother-in-law is moving in with us for a few months. I'm really excited about that. That's a good thing. I love spending time with her. But I also am noticing like, okay, like we're going to have somebody else living with us for a few months. And so that is going to disrupt some of our normal patterns and rhythms. And so I just want to think about like, how do I want to be intentional during this time and how I spend my time? Because like, I definitely want to have time for her. I want to have time for the extra communication that might need to take place with 3 adults in the house. But I also want to think about like, how do I want to be spending my time? And are there things that I've been doing that I could maybe take advantage of this little shift to stop doing or start doing more of? And then the second thing is that we are heading into back to school. I don't have kids, but for the first time ever this year, I am actually teaching a class at a local co-op. And so I'm very excited about that. It's a writing class and that's like one of my passions. But again, like I haven't been tied to a school schedule since I graduated from college. And so taking advantage of this like nice little rhythm reset where I've got, the next 9 months where I have like a commitment every week. What can I do to give the rest of my life a little bit of soft reset to make sure that I have room and space for that? So I think the main like thing here to know is that life hands you these soft reset moments. And if you can sort of think about, changes in your life or things that may be coming up, you have an opportunity to make small changes to make your life better, probably like 6 to 10 times per year. And that's really, really cool. That's really powerful actually, because when you leverage the like actual momentum of your life, or like things are changing anyway, it's almost easier to just like lump a new change in with it. And so that's really cool. And your soft reset moments are probably going to look different than mine, but I wanted to give you those examples just to kind of get you thinking and going, okay, what situations in my life could I use to make my life more of what I want it to be? Whether that's you want to slow your life down, whether that's you want to declutter, whether that's you want to reset your routines or like form some new habits, like any of those things are great things to do with your time. And it's really a lot easier if you sort of piggyback on changes that are already happening, because your routines and stuff are already going to be disrupted. And so that's a really good time to make a change. And your answers are probably going to look different than mine, but I'm just going to go through them real quick. They were, first of all, my physical space. And I divided that into two main areas that I wanted to make big changes in. The second was my priorities and my schedule, and the third was my habits and routines. So let's talk about the physical space first, because I am a minimalist. I really try to keep the clutter down. I try to make sure we don't have things that we don't need. And that's just a constant tweaking and editing of our space and our life. But there were two main things that I wanted to change about our physical space heading into this time of my mother-in-law living with us. And I think that it was an especially powerful motivator for me to change those things, because I knew that we were going to have another person in the house. And so with another person comes more stuff, comes more need for space. And so we really don't have the same flexibility that we might have had with just two people living in a house. And so the first thing that I did is I reworked our travel closet. So this is our travel closet. This, I think, was actually my husband's idea, because we have extra closets in our house. We have a lot of things that you need when you're traveling, but that you don't necessarily need access to the rest of the time. Like, your suitcases, or like this is my bag. It's kind of falling apart, but this is the size that they allow you to carry your wet items and toiletries in on airplanes. And so I like to have this bag just ready to go, so that I don't have to think too much about it when we're traveling. Our backpacks, sleeping bags, little pillows, like anything we need for either an overnight trip or a longer stay. And for me, it makes sense to have this in my house, because my husband and I love to travel, but anything that we can do to make the packing process easier is a win in my book. Because I don't know about you, but I feel like every time I go somewhere, there's always that one thing that I own that I don't use the rest of the time, but I do use on trips. Like maybe it's snorkel gear, or maybe it's a case for my phone that makes it waterproof or something. And I'm like, okay, great. We're going to go, to this place, and I need my snorkeling gear, and I don't know where it is, because I stashed it someplace, because I don't need it most of the time, but then I can't remember where I put it. And so this travel closet is our solution for all of that. We've got our backpacks, our overnight bags, our suitcases for longer stays. And so just everything is either in one of these bags or in one of these boxes, so that it is easy for us to find here. Anything that falls in the category of, I want to keep this because I do use it when I travel, but I don't use it the rest of the time, goes in here. And for us, that's been a really good solution, because we don't want to hold on to things that we don't need, but we also don't want to be buying the same thing over and over and over again every single time that we travel. And so if we make the decision, for example, we did, I keep saying snorkel gear because we did buy snorkel gear. We went snorkeling on our honeymoon, and we had such a great time that the next time we were going on a trip where we would have the opportunity to snorkel, we went ahead and bought some so that we wouldn't have to keep renting it over and over and over again. And that's a choice that we made because we were trying to be budget conscious. Maybe if we had more money, we wouldn't do that, and we would just be minimalist about it and take care of it on the trip. But for us, the reality was, if we don't buy the snorkel gear, we may not be able to snorkel as often as we wanted to. And so we went ahead and we paid $30 each, and we got it. And so we hold on to it here in the travel closet, because we don't go snorkeling during regular life. So anyway, I have no problem with this system, but the reason I wanted to move it is, first of all, it's been in the same closet for quite a while in this room that we don't use. And I just wanted to make sure that we were actually keeping things that we would actually use as part of our traveling, just, because it's not something we look at very often. So I just wanted to, check in and make sure there wasn't anything that we'd forgotten about or that we didn't really need anymore. And then the other thing, the main reason, was that room I'm hoping to turn into sort of storage central for my mother-in-law. If she needs it, she can put extra stuff there so that it's out of her hair. This stuff was in the closet in that room. And so I went ahead and moved it to the closet here in my office, because Like, I don't use a closet in my office. I mean, maybe I will someday, but I don't. So it's an empty space. I can use it, and then I can just sort of shut it when I'm working, and I don't have to look at it. And then with moving the travel closet to my office, the second thing that I really wanted to do was to make sure that my office was everything that it could be. I wasn't trying to make it like the best home office in the world, but I was going like, okay, this hallway into my office has been stressing me out with the amount of clutter that has just gathered on this countertop. And I want to make that change before she moves in, because I am already going to have more stuff in this space, and I do not want to feel overwhelmed every time I have to go to work. Like, that is a losing battle, because I'm trying to focus and do my best work. And if I'm already overwhelmed by all the things in my space, that's just not going to work. So I made an entire video about that. You can do that here. It's a pretty short watch. But those are my two things. I was like, okay, I'm going to make space in the other room in case she needs that closet for her stuff. And then I'm going to declutter and clean my space so that it is more welcoming for me when I come in to, record a video, write something, whatever. So then the second thing that I was considering was my priorities and my schedule. So this is actually something that I think about a lot. If you go back and watch some of my older videos, you'll notice there was like a lot of emphasis on gentle productivity. And that's still something I am very passionate about, and we'll probably talk about more at some point on this channel. But something that I have been really trying to work on over the past month or so is energy management versus time management. So really understanding where I am with like how much energy I have and how much effort and enthusiasm I have to give to something, and structuring my day and my tasks accordingly. And I wouldn't say that I've totally figured that out, but even with a little bit that I've been implementing that, it's made a huge difference. So I will probably make a video on that sometime soon in the next few weeks. But the main thing here that I was thinking about when I was thinking about my soft life reset was actually this priority/time inventory. I don't remember what it was called, that my husband and I did after going to a conference earlier this month. Well, and basically what the speaker had us do is write down like the 10 most important things in our lives, and then rate how important they were to us, and then say how much time we were spending on those things. And wow, like my husband thinks I was maybe a little bit harsher with myself than I needed to be on that, which, fair. I tend to be that way, which is why I have to always be talking about like self-compassion and all of those things. But what I realized was that a lot of the things on my list, I have not been making the time for that I wanted to, even though I have been really intentional about slowing my life down. There were things like I want to grow in my faith, I want to grow in my knowledge, and all of these things that I'm not making as much time for in my life as I would like to. And so just sort of looking at that and realizing, okay, obviously I always think that there's a lot of work to be done in my life. And this is no different, but what things do I want to improve now? And, which numbers do I want to close the gap on first? And then going ahead and taking steps toward doing that, toward adding more inspiration, toward adding more learning, toward adding more times to connect with friends and spend time with them. So that has been a really good experience for me, but also something that I'm continuing to work through during this time. I think that the 3 that I chose were I want to make more time to spend time with God, because it's never been really a struggle for me, but then it has been for these past few months. And so just like figuring out what my new rhythm looks like with God, with spending time in His Word, with praying. And then also reading, like what am I going to do to learn more? And then people, what am I going to do to spend more time with people? Maybe like connecting with people once a week outside of like my house. And then just the third thing that I wanted to consider during the soft reset was my habits. I really believe what James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits when he talks about how small changes make a difference, how you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems, and your systems are your habits in your life. And I know that habits are not fun, like They make us feel guilty sometimes because we're not keeping up with them. And that's not really what I'm trying to bring here. Like, that's not the emotion I'm trying to bring. I'm trying to think about, like, what are the things that I want to spend more of my time doing, either every day or every week, or just, on a regular basis. And I was actually talking about this with my sister, my husband's sister, but my sister the other day. And we were both talking about how, routines are really helpful for both of us. But like for me, recently, I haven't had a lot of like routines that really are helping me. My morning routine, I did a video about it. And I think that there's a time for this for sure. My morning routine just tends to be whatever I want it to be that morning. And I've been noticing, especially as I'm talking about energy, that some mornings I sort of drag because I don't incorporate breakfast into my morning routine. And so things like that, just like sort of looking at what do I want my routine to be? How long do I want it to take? But also like what other habits do I want to do to serve those goals and priorities? Like, when do I want to read every day? How do I want to go about connecting more with people outside of my house? What do I want to do for my quiet time with God? Figuring out all of those things. And I'll be honest, like some of those things I have a better idea and grasp on than others. Like the morning routine thing, I am still trying to figure out because some days I do well without breakfast. Some days I don't do well without breakfast. Some days I read a lot just naturally, but my husband and I try to have a time right at the end of the day where we also just read for 5 minutes, even if it's just, even if that's all the time we have, just because we're telling ourselves that it's important. Just lots of things to think about like the kind of things I want to be doing with my time. Okay, so thanks for coming along with me and listening to me talk about how I'm taking advantage of these soft reset moments in my life. I hope that was helpful to you and that it inspires you to kind of think through your own opportunities for soft reset and what you want to do to make just a few changes in your life. If what I take out of these soft resets is that I have a cleaner space, I am back on track with my devotions and quiet time, and I'm reading more consistently, that's great. And I will figure out the other things the next time an opportunity presents itself. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. And if you enjoyed this video, I think that you would also enjoy this video where I am talking about getting my life together with this cute little like side quest page that I found at a local stationery shop. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.